Good evening, spiritual warriors around the world. This is the Divine Medicine Lady, and I'm really excited to be here with everybody. I'm hoping that everyone's children are sleeping soundly and we can just kind of like decompress and reflect on the energy. My goal is to make this a fairly concise overview of this new moon energy, although I will tell you that there's a lot going on right now, and so I can't promise that it's going to be brief, but I'm going to do my best. All right, so the first thing is that we have the new moon next to conjunct the sun in Virgo. So automatically we know the sun is a masculine energy and the moon is a feminine energy. So we have those two energies working together, all right? Then we have the new moon in relationship with Uranus and with Mars. And we have the planet Venus going into Scorpio today. And so there's a lot of powerful energies at force right now. So I want to start out by talking about Virgo. There's a lot of different ways to understand Virgo, and I think many of us, we have kind of a surface understanding of Virgo. At least I know that I have for a lot of my life. And so I want to talk a little bit about, having a little bit of a more expansive understanding of Virgo. Okay. So the first thing is that, Virgo is the archetype of Virgo is the Virgin Mary, right? So if you think about how, the Virgin Mary made this great sacrifice, and again, you don't have to be Christian or non-Christian, whatever. It's more about the archetype of understanding the story or the symbolism of Virgin Mary than being a Christian or believing in Jesus. Okay. So Virgin Mary, she's an archetype, right? She's an archetype of purity, and she's also an archetype of spiritual service and devotion, right? Because she made a great sacrifice to be a channel for the divine, right? So the divine is Pisces, ruled by Neptune, spirit, and Virgo is really its highest vibration is service, like very pure service. So I think she's a really beautiful archetype to exemplify this new moon. And so if you think about the Virgo Pisces axis, it's really all about like your spiritual purpose. It's really about refining and like crafting and getting really clear about what you are in service to, because ideally we're in service to the divine, and we're using the Pisces aspect of the axis to channel the divine, to channel spirit, to be a pure channel for spirit, which is where the Virgo comes in, because Virgo is an earth sign. So it's all about really grounding our purpose in the physical body and in our acts of service and the work that we're doing in the world. Okay. So that's just kind of a big picture about the Virgo Pisces axis. The next thing is that I want to explain to you briefly, and I'll make a longer video or maybe a longer post about how to do this. But if you want to go look up your chart, go to www.astro.com, okay? And you can click on, create your birth chart. And you can go and you can see, where you have each planet, the sign of each planet. And then the other thing you can see is you can see which house, if you click on with transits, you can see in which house this new moon falls, right? So if you think about this new moon, right, and you think about how new moons are new beginnings and beginnings, you want to think about what part of your life are you making a new beginning, what part of your life are you really needing to like refine? Because, Virgo at its just most mundane level is about kind of fixing something, right? Like what's broken, let me see what needs to be fixed. And the sort of stereotypical, understanding we have of Virgo is that it can be, Virgos can be very critical. They can be very critical of themselves and really hard on themselves, and they can be really critical and hard on others, But, the higher sort of evolution or kind of the intention behind a lot of Virgo criticalness is that they're really trying to improve something. So underneath what feels like critical energy is, oftentimes a very pure intention to serve and to be of service and to help fix something, for something to work better, And so if you think about your life right now and you really think about what part of my life needs fixing, what part of my life needs to evolve and be refined and work better, and then you can have your own reflection about it and then go look up your chart and see where in your chart this new moon falls. And you can see because there'll be a little sliver, there'll be a little symbol of a little new moon, a sliver of a moon, and it'll be right on the outside of the pie piece that represents that part of your life, right? So each of the 12 houses, which look like pie pieces on an astrology chart, they each represent a different aspect of your life, right? So the first house represents like yourself and your identity, your self-expression. The second house represents your money, your values, your material comforts, your sexuality, especially for women. Your third house represents the mind. It's ruled by Mercury. The second house is ruled by Venus. The first house is ruled by Mars. So with the third house, it's all about communication and also about how you think. The fourth house is ruled by the moon and represents the home. The fifth house is ruled by the sun and represents like children, short-term romance, your creativity. The sixth house is also ruled by Mercury, but it's ruled specifically by the sign of Virgo. And so, Virgo is all about not only service, but it's also about your health, and your routines and just kind of like the way you take care of yourself, as well as your actual health. The seventh house is also ruled by Venus, but specifically by the sign of Venus. And so, excuse me, it's ruled by Venus, but specifically the sign of Libra. So instead of it being about, like money and sexuality, it's about relationships, right? It's about your long-term partnerships, whether it's a marriage or, your sister or your mother. It's about your partnerships. Although the mother is actually specifically more the fourth house, but you know what I mean. People that you're in a long-term partnership with. All right, so then you go into the eighth house, and the eighth house is ruled by the planet Pluto, which is, in my opinion, like the heaviest hitter of the zodiac. Pluto in the animal kingdom would be exemplified by like the vulture, and so Pluto is all about like death and rebirth. Pluto is all about going into the underworld, facing your deepest fears, and coming. It's like a baptism, right? Being reborn. Then going into the ninth house. The ninth house is ruled by the planet Jupiter, which is all about higher wisdom. It's about travel. It's about like basically universal law, like tuning into a higher frequency. So it's often represented by the philosopher or the guru, and it rules the sign of Sagittarius. So that house represents travel, but it also represents higher learning and you going back to school, you being a student, you studying things like that. The 10th house is ruled by the planet Saturn. Saturn governs the sign of Capricorn, and that represents your career house. So, for example, if the new moon and Virgo fall in your career house, then it's really an opportunity for you to like have a reset and to really refine your career and the way that you are in service in your career. Okay, and because of the Virgo Pisces axis, I think it's really important to think specifically about your purpose, like really refining your spiritual purpose within that part of your life. So the 11th house is ruled by the planet Uranus, and Uranus rules the age of Aquarius and the sign of Aquarius. And so that has to do with basically your relationship to your tribe, to your community, to the collective. Okay. So a lot of times, if you have a planet in the 11th house, it will help you understand what you came here to do in relationship to your tribe. So like I have my moon in the 11th house. So that would mean that where I feel secure is within my tribe. The 12th house is ruled by Neptune. Neptune is the furthest planet from Earth, and it also governs the sign of Pisces. So it has to do with basically your relationship to spirit. But it also represents like your relationship to institutions and what they call it the house of self-undoing, meaning that people who are not grounded on the earth can become undone in the 12th house because of their lack of discernment. It's also your past life. So every house has a lot of different nuances, but that's just kind of a quick overview of it. So what I would recommend is taking some time to just have a few quiet moments, meditate, reflect on your life, on the quality of your life right now, and What really needs change in your life? Um, what needs to shift? What area of your life really needs that shift? And then you can go look up your birth chart and you can see where the new moon falls. You can also do a reading with me. I am doing $25 readings right now for a half-hour session just so people can get an introduction to working with me. But my regular sessions are 2.5 hours and they're $150 because I go very in depth into not just your natal chart, but we look at your progress chart. We go through each house of your natal and your progress chart, as well as all of the transits. And then we also focus a lot on Chiron and Black Moon Lilith. And we really look at your path in terms of your path as a wounded healer, right? So, what you came here to heal, and as you heal that, what you came here to offer to the world. We look a lot at like your family lineage and things that you came here to heal within your family, things that hopefully you can heal so that the next generation that comes after you is not stuck with like the generational trauma that was probably passed on to you. So that's the focus of my readings. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about for this new moon in Virgo. I mean, just that this new moon in Virgo is opposing Neptune. So anytime you have an opposition, it's really like an opportunity. So this opportunity is about like spiritual connection and discernment. And if you're in like an escapist type of energy, or if you're feeling like, oh, I just want to go, check out or, drink or do drugs or go escape in some way, you're going to be tempted to go further away from yourself. So it's really important with this new moon that you ground. Virgo is really about like grounded action, bringing spirit to earth. So just really working on feeling what you need to feel and like working through it as opposed to avoiding it. All right. So I think that is my best shot at a concise overview of this new moon in Virgo. I'm going to make some videos this week about the planet Saturn going direct and talking about that because it is a huge like karmic release and like just a huge energy of moving forward in our lives, especially because Mars has just gone direct and Mars is going into Capricorn. So Saturn and Mars will be in Capricorn, and it will be, a lot of energy around like getting things done and building the structure for your success. And then Venus just went into Scorpio today, and it will eventually go retrograde. So, that's something that it's really important to understand what Venus and Scorpio is about because you want to harness the higher vibration of Scorpio. You don't want to get caught in, high level manipulations and control with people with Scorpio. You don't want to you do not want to get like under somebody's heel with the low vibration of Pluto and Scorpio. So it's really important to learn about that so you can work with it consciously and like harness it. And when, people or situations come into your field and come into your life, you have an awareness of like the planetary energies that are going on so you can really work with them proactively. Okay. So anyway, let me know if you have questions, and you can contact me through my website, which is www.themedicinelady.com. You can also contact me through Instagram, which is Divine Medicine Lady, or my Facebook page, which is the same thing, facebook.com/Divine Medicine Lady. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this was of service to anyone who is interested in navigating and harnessing these planetary energies that are here to support and really support our healing and support our path of transformation. All right, peace, everybody. Keep on being a spiritual warrior. Adios.